Hey, how you guys doing? My name is Ezra. This is my channel, Greater Ethiopia. For those of you who are new to my channel, to give you a little background of myself, I used to live in Ethiopia for 7 years straight between the years 2015 and 2022, and I was a big Pan-Africanist, and I still like Ethiopia, but at the time I was living there, and I thought I was going to be living there permanently, and I ended up not living there permanently. After 5 years, I met my wife, and I lived in Ethiopia for 2 years with my wife, and we had two kids together. And then in 2022, my wife and I, with our two daughters, Zion and Ariel, who was 3 years old and 6 months at the time, we left 2022 and came to the United States. The reason why we left Ethiopia prematurely, to my opinion, because I wanted to stay there for a very long time, because I really liked it after living there 7 years. I still wasn't ready to go, is because the war that broke out in 2020. So what happened was, because of the war, it sort of like gravitated me and my family to have to leave Ethiopia, because I'm just a single guy. Well, I'm not single, but I had my wife and my two daughters. So I don't have any of my family or my friends, because I'm Black American, as what you might know as a Negro. You know, I live in the United States. My ancestry goes back to the United States conception, you know. So I don't have any family and friends in Ethiopia. It's just me. So therefore, it was kind of difficult for me to stay there and maintain a life with my family. And things were heating up in the country, because after the war broke out in 2020, some other stuff happened, like the death and the murder of Hachailu. Hachailu was an Ethiopian Oromo singer, and I was living in the city at the time. And what happened was, when that Ethiopian Oromo singer was assassinated or killed, what happened was, a lot of his supporters, they rioted the streets, and I got caught up, and I almost actually died. So you can see that video in another video. It's called like "How I Survived 1,000 People Chasing Me." In Ethiopia. So with that experience, along with a couple of other experiences, I decided that I would have to make an exit out of Ethiopia, and I didn't have a choice but to leave, because I knew I wouldn't be able to take care of my family. So I decided to leave. I left in 2022 with my family, but it was a very difficult process, because before I was trying to leave, before I was able to leave Ethiopia, I had to do some very difficult bureaucracy and paperwork to get my wife out of there, because the thing was, my wife's paperwork was not finished. Neither was my kids' paperwork finished to get their visa to go to the United States. My wife only had her Ethiopian passport. And and my kids at the time, they were just receiving their birth certificate and their passports. I was trying to hurry up and get their passports, but it was a very tedious process, and it took a long time for me to actually get my wife her visa and my kids their passport. And let me tell you quickly that story, because it was kind of a shocker a little bit. So what happened was, for like a year already, I was trying to get my wife a visa with the fiance visa. And what happened was that they were kind of dragging their feet at the U.S. Embassy in Ethiopia, and they weren't allowing me to get through. I was trying to email them. I was trying to call them. My phone calls wasn't being answered. My emails wasn't being responded to. And so I thought already that it was going to be a tedious process to get my wife her visa, because I was trying to get her a fiance visa or a marriage visa at the time. And they said that it's like a 2 or 3 year wait, because at the time it was a COVID crisis happening at the time. And not only was the COVID crisis happening, but there was also the war that broke out in 2020. So a lot of people were trying to leave Ethiopia all at once. And even the United States Embassy was telling all American citizens to leave. And I was one of the very few people who was still there. And the only reason why I was still in Ethiopia, this is in 2022, 2 years after the war broke out, is because I was trying to get my wife paperwork process, but it was taking forever. and they was just pretty much blowing me off. So what I ended up doing was I told my wife, I said, sweetheart, I think I got to go to the United States and see my family and have a meeting with my family and some relatives and some representatives and have a meeting with my bank. I got to talk to them too, and I got to get some paperwork and some processes done because it's not taking care of itself when I stay here. So my wife was kind of nervous. I was kind of nervous because I didn't want to leave my wife behind, my 2 kids. I was kind of concerned that something might happen on my flight because like a year before, Ethiopian airline jetter blew up and like 100-something people died. I think it was on his way to Kenya, and that was off of Ethiopian airline. I don't know if it was Ethiopian airline, but it was one of those Ethiopian airline. It was one of those airlines, and so I was kind of concerned about that. And so I was concerned about leaving my wife behind in the country that was at war with itself. And I didn't know if something was going to happen to my kids. So I tried to hurry up. So when I got to the United States and landed on ground, I quickly got to business. I told my family and my friends and whoever will listen, hey man, please, I try to need some help. What's your advice? I'm trying to get trying to get my wife up out of there. I need some advice. Could you guys help me out? Because by giving me some kind of advice on what I can do, can we come together or something, figure out something. So what happened was some people in my family was like, hey, we have an idea. And so I said, what's that? And so they said, look, just go back to Ethiopia. So I said, okay, I went back to Ethiopia. Now I stayed in the United States for like a week because I wanted to hurry up and get back to my wife. When I was in the United States, basically I was saying I was trying to gather up enough support and influence and stuff so I can go back to Ethiopia and get something done with the embassy, because I was trying to explain to everyone that the embassy is not listening to me. And I was telling them that I'm pretty much being ignored. And so my family was like, oh, okay, we have an idea. We know how to get through to that, So by the time I got back to Ethiopia, let's say on Monday, I received the notification in my email that the U.S. Embassy in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, wanted to see me. And then when I looked at it, it was from a congressman. Basically, my family had reached out to Congressman Hank Johnson. I forgot which district he's in, but he's the congressman for DeKalb County in United States, in the state of Georgia. So he's a congressman. So he got involved in my case, and his office got involved. And a very nice, sweet lady, I think her name was Maria. I forget her name exactly, but basically she was his assistant. And when I got back to Ethiopia, they told me that they reached out to the embassy in Addis Ababa, and they talked to the embassy staff, and I should be fine now and go and talk to them. And they reached out and they told them to expedite my process, because I think that they thought that I was Ethiopian or something. They was treating me like I was Ethiopian, which is nothing wrong with that. But see, I don't have no support system in Ethiopia. So I don't have family. I don't have friends outside of the family that I created, So I had to get up out of Ethiopia and quickly, because I was running out of funds, And so therefore, when the congressman got involved, we got to the embassy that next day after I got back from America. I took my wife. We went to the embassy with my daughters, and I kid you not, that my wife, she had her. They gave her 10-year permanent residency that same day. So after the congressman got involved with my case, Congressman Hank Johnson got involved in my case. I got back to Ethiopia. The next day, I had a notification to come and see the Ethiopian embassy. And when I got to the Ethiopian embassy, the counselor herself, I think it was a counselor, Amanda, who was dressed very eccentric, let's put it that way, greeted me herself and told my family and I to come inside her office. And so we went in the back and we talked to the counselor, Amanda, and she said, we got a notification from the Congress that your family needed help and your family got involved and we're here to help you. And she said, go to that window. And basically, my wife got her 10-year residency right away. No more 2-year waiting time period. No more, getting not my phone call or my emails answered. So my wife, once she got her 10-year residency and they gave my kids their passport, I was very happy. And so as soon as that happened, I took all my money that I had in savings and I bought the tickets for my wife and my kids to come to the United States with me. and that turned out to be like $6,000. Because keep in mind that the kids at this time were priced as an adult. Even my 3-year-old, the same price for her ticket was the same as mine. I thought it was going to be some kind of discount, but I used all my cash. I bought our tickets. We came back to the United States impromptu. We wasn't planning on leaving like the way we did, but I told my wife, let's go. My wife kind of wanted to stay and settle and sort things out with her family, but we had like a celebration leave that my wife's family threw for her and for I and our family to leave. It was a big festival. It was pretty nice, and they brought a goat out. They slaughtered the goat, and I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I had to leave because, like I told you, the situation was kind of getting intense. Now I'm hearing that now people are saying, hey, look, did you hear that things are starting to get normal again in Ethiopia? It's not saying no more. Peace has returned to Ethiopia. And in that case, I would say that's good because I myself would love to go back to Ethiopia one day. And there are some Black Americans and there are some Blacks in the diasporas who are not Black American, like Caribbeans and other Africans from other African countries who have gone to Ethiopia recently. And I'm hearing that they're saying that things by the looks of it is returning back to normal. And that's good. But I do have some friends that stay behind, like Ethiopian friends. And I even know a couple of diaspora who still live there. And they said, look, the only thing is the infrastructural development is not as good still. Like the water and the electricity still needs some work on it, but they are doing a lot of progress in the city of Boli and Piazza and stuff like that, places where I was also frequenting a lot when I lived in Ethiopia. So anyways, we got back to the United States with my wife and my 2 daughters, and my auntie picked us up. And when we came back to the United States, I had money saved up at first, but unfortunately, when I was in Ethiopia, I talked to you guys about this another time. I was involved in a business that was not successful, and I lost like a big chunk of change investing in a business that did not be successful in the course of 2 years, because I was trying to do some work online and stuff, so I didn't have to return back to the United States, and I was trying to make money online, basically with another partner. And it wasn't so successful. So basically, my wife was upset with that at first. But because the reason why I say this is because after I spent all our money to come to the United States, we were kind of down on our luck when we first got here. I ended up having to stay with a relative of ours, and for a few months. And then we really tried hard, my wife and I, and we found a job. My wife found a job, and I within like 1 month of coming to the United States, because we had to get my wife had to get her Social Security card, and my daughters, we had to get all that paperwork, and stuff done, and get my daughters in daycare, and daycare is so expensive here. So it was like a really big shocker to come to the United States after spending almost 7 years straight in Ethiopia. So when my wife and I got to America, it put a big strain on our relationship because a lot of stress was involved when keeping up with all the tasks of, the paperwork and bills and, the bureaucracy of living in the United States. It's a hassle. It's always the wheel is the hamster wheel is always spinning. You know what I mean? So, but eventually we got on our feet after a big struggle. But I'll tell you guys more about the struggle in another video. I'm skipping over a lot of stuff right now. So, excuse me. So yeah. Anyways, sorry, I got a notification coming on my phone. That's that chime you guys keep on hearing. So, anyways, yeah. What happened was my wife and I finally got on our feet to get out of our relative's house that I was staying with, and we got our own apartment, and we had a third baby, excuse me. So I ended up having a boy. So for the first 2 girls was born in Ethiopia, and then my third baby, which is a boy, was born right here at Emory Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. So from there, my wife and I, we realized that we need to keep working. So we decided to keep working and work hard. So now my wife and I, we're just pretty much busting our ass. So we went from an apartment, and then now we bought actually our first house. Can you believe? So we've been here for 22 to 3 years. It's 2025 now, a little bit less than 3 years. And we've already bought a house. So luckily for us, we were able to get on our feet. But my wife had a big shocker coming to America because she'd never been to the United States. And it was really difficult on her because the culture was so harsh. Like the people here in the United States our communication is more direct. So when she's at work, she was telling me how mean some of the people were who was working with her sometimes. And I had to explain to her when she would tell me the stories, like, look, those people aren't being mean. It's just the way Americans speak. If we don't like something, we'll tell you. Or we like something, we'll be blunt about it. So don't think of it as that way. And you got to be more competitive when you live in the United States, because people are more competitive at work. And, and the work environment is a lot more strenuous here in the United States than back in Ethiopia. And it's a lot of more paperwork and bureaucracy and bills involved. And, paper and cards and credits and all of this mortgage. So my wife really had a difficult time, but now she's starting to get on board on knowing how to keep up with that kind of stuff. But even me, I can't, I'm behind myself on that kind of stuff. And my house is pretty much set up like a big daycare, man. Like every room has like baby paraphernalia all over it, because my wife, she wants to have, African women, they like to have big families, so I'm trying to be able to support that. So hopefully everything goes planned. And so I'll keep you guys updated. So that's been my update about where I've been and how I got to where I am now. And I'll tell you guys more about a lot of stuff that I skipped over, but I just wanted to make the video short. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. All right, Greater Ethiopia. Take care, everyone.